Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the OutCast, your podcast for political filth. And speaking of filth, this week was the DNC, and oh boy, was it every bit as bad as I thought it would be. Today we're joined with co-host Jared
Hello.
and Dale,
Howdy.
and today we're going to be discussing the different topics that happened during the DNC, the different lies that they told, and the different things that they were trying to push that were just incorrect and dumb and foolish and all the other words you can think about it. And then we'll probably talk about a couple other things on the side. But I think that's where we're going to start. Do any of you guys want to go ahead and start us off?
I mean, we can start off with just the beginning of day one of the DNC, and that was pretty much solely focused on the civil rights movement. And that's great and all. I mean, the civil rights movement was important as it did give black people a vote when they didn't used to have it in the country. But honestly, I don't see how that's relevant anymore. I mean, I understand the whole racial uh, bifurcation of America that the media is trying to pit people against each other based off of their race. You've got the BLM riots, but that does not play into the civil rights movement, as Americans have been equal no matter what this color of their skin what their skin is for years. So I don't. It's just a thing that's out of place that seems to only find a purchase in the Democratic Party.
Well, if you look at it in history, what happened was it was the civil rights movement, so it was for, you know, uh, black Americans to be able to vote, which is right. Then it moved on to the homosexual and segment of the population to give them rights and to give them marriage rights to have a marriage and all this stuff. And then it moved after they succeeded in getting that. Then it moved to um, transgenderism. So at base. So basically, the Democrats always try to fight. They're always trying to show, oh, we're fighting for the underdog by fighting for these cultural things that, in some cases, are fine. But then you also had Republicans that wanted to have the civil rights movement. But then you had the mass push for homosexuality to be legal, then the push for homosexuality to be able to have a civil contract, then the push for homosexuality to have a marriage, actual marriage, which is different than a civil contract. And then now it's like, oh, well, we've switched it to the transgender theory now, which infuriates homosexuals, which is hilarious. Because the homosexuals are like, you're just hopping on our bandwagon. It's like, yes, they are, because that's what the Democratic Party does. But I think the first day being about civil rights is hilarious when you have and well, it was about civil rights and about Joe Biden and sending off Joe Biden into the pasture, put him out to pasture, send him off to the lake, taking him out fishing, whatever analogy you want to use. But basically, thanks for stepping down, so we don't have to look at your ugly mug anymore. And if you notice,
They more or less old yellered him,
yeah, you don't really see
is
him in the news
essentially how
anymore.
they treated him.
There was a story that
They
came out
shafted
today.
him.
There was a story that came out today that Joe Biden was seen visibly shaking, unable to get inside of the SUV, the Beast, um, car that takes him everywhere. And so, I mean, that's kind of why. Anyway, but first day, really, in my opinion, was just consolatory. Here's your gold watch and your standing ovation, Joe Biden.
It was really an introduction of them trying to get people on people's good side before they went further into it. One thing I find that's hilarious is the Democratic Party is, oh, we're fighting for, social justice and all of this stuff. And I just think it's funny. They're really catching up, because they weren't there for the blacks. The Republicans had to do that. And so now they're just pushing really hard with the gays and the transgenders so that they can make up for it, make everybody think that they're the ones who actually care. But when it came down to it historically, the Democratic Party has actually been against all of these things, and they just kind of use people for the votes because when you look at what they actually do, it's almost nothing.
I think that the Democratic Party really has. They're trying to come together, trying to show that they have unity, even though they don't. You can see that throughout the entire DNC and the giant riots that are outside
Oh, and
the
and RFK and
and RFK.
RFK.
Oh, and Tulsi
Holy
Gabbard.
cow, do they not? They do not have unity. RFK, whose grandfather was
No,
arguably one of the best Democrats. Grandfather,
his uncle, I believe.
his uncle.
Yes.
That family's whole weird. I get it confused. But either
His,
way,
yeah.
one of the greatest Democratic, presidents of American history,
Policy
and
wise.
he did, huh?
Policy wise.
Policy wise, let's not talk about the sleep chambers and the tunnels and the mistresses. By the way, if you live within 5 miles of DC, or at least your
The White
grandparents
House.
did, you statistically could be related to Kennedy. Get it tested. Maybe you can also run for office this next coming election.
But more than focusing on just civil rights, they also touched on another and transgenders, and they also touched on another hot topic issue of our generation, which was abortion. And
Oh
I
man.
I just really want to point out that I do not the watching all of the days of the DNC, even though like day one they were talking about abortion, they talked about it throughout the entire DNC, but that DNC was the most moderate I have seen Democrats in a very long time.
I
And
dis.
yet, even with all that moderateness, because they're trying to appeal to the broad electorate, they are so radical on abortion. They had an abortion ad the first day, and I was shocked and surprised that it was a quote unquote abortion ad. So some
They didn't
lady,
just have an ad, they had a stinking truck sitting out. I think the first day I read an article, they had 11
yep,
abortions
yep,
outside the DNC
in
They
the
had
parking lot.
the
25
first
total.
day, and they were doing vasectomies. They're
Yeah.
literally sterilizing people, and people are celebrating it. It's such a cult.
So they had an ad and they played it at the DNC, and the lady was saying that she found out that she was pregnant, but then there was complications and she was not allowed to get an abortion, even though it would be quote unquote medically necessary. And so she was waiting for 2 to 3 days until for the doctors to determine and figure out what's going on with her baby. And then she literally admitted in her whole in the ad while she's talking that she wanted the doctors to say the child is healthy, she's coming home, you will be fine, and you will have your kid. And then she also wanted them to say the child's dead, so she doesn't have to worry about how stressed out she is over the child. Like, that's an admission that she doesn't want to kill the child. She wanted her child home. How is that an abortion ad when it's saying abortion literally is removing the child from existence? You don't have it anymore. It's dead. And her solution to the problem of her having a complication with her pregnancy is I just want the child dead. When I do want the child, their abortion stance does not make sense.
No, it definitely doesn't. I think it's funny that you brought this up. I was speaking with one of our friends. She just had a baby. She wants to remain anonymous for right now, but she had a lot of major complications with her child. Y'all know, high blood pressure, a lot of issues, preeclampsia. There was a couple times her blood pressure was so high, it's a miracle that she wasn't having seizures and stuff. It was really a high risk situation. And yet the child has been born completely fine. The mom is doing well. And even the mom, she said, it wasn't that big of a deal. And me and her were talking, and one thing that I really don't like that they're pushing nowadays and they're using for abortion, right, is these tactics, right? Oh,
Hmm.
this can go wrong. Oh, your child can be born with this problem, or this can happen and it'll be a health complication for you, and both you and the baby will die, or you're going to die, the baby's going to die. They're pushing this scare
Not true.
tactic. Like pregnancy is this danger that you don't want. Like it hasn't been happening for thousands of years and it's not a natural process. Pregnancy is a natural process. And like I said, it's been happening for thousands of years by millions or sorry, billions of mothers You're here as a result of pregnancy. It's not this scary bad thing. If anything, pregnancy is a blessing. And they're sitting here making it sound like it's this evil monster and we'll take care of it for you. And having these abortion buses right outside the DNC, it's literally like having an altar and you're throwing your child into flames. People like to talk about, oh, how, we're more sophisticated than barbarians who would throw their kids, as sacrifices into flames and do all this stuff. And they like to critique these like Aztec cultures that would throw their kids into like brazen, I forget what it is. I think some of them were like brazen bulls and they'll put them in there and beat on drums so they don't hear the cries. It's the same thing. They're literally sacrificing their children for convenience and for all these different things. And they're told that being pregnant is scary. They're told to hate children. And all of these different issues are coming about. And it's just, honestly, it aggravates me. It's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. And it's abhorrent before God. It's absolutely disgusting.
They're just doing
They're
it
being
before they
lied
can
to.
hear the babies can scream. That's the only difference. They're doing what the Aztecs did, like you said, with the beating of the drums and the music during these ceremonies. They're just in indifference. The only thing that the Democratic Party and the liberals are doing is they're killing their children before they can hear them scream.
Yeah. It's a no cry, no guilt, right? Oh, if you didn't hear it cry, you can disassociate the idea that it's a person, which, by the way, it's a person for whoever needs to hear this. If a single cell swimming in a ocean like 4 planets away, scientists are looking for so that they can call it life, then a fully functioning reproducing cellular system inside your body is a living thing, whether you like it or not. Abortion is
And
murder.
women are just being lied to because one, they're being told, oh, pregnancy is this scary, dangerous thing. Pregnancy can have complications and it can have difficulties. However, throughout all of the DNC, they were trotting out women who say, oh, because there was an abortion ban in my state, I was not able to get any treatment, any care while I'm pregnant. That's not true. And there is no such thing as being refused treatment because you're pregnant. And if you have any complications where it's either your life or the life of the baby, those situations don't happen anymore. But if they were to happen, doctors will not put the baby's life above the mother's life.
There's only one
That is not a
situation.
standard of practice.
There's only one situation in which that actually happens anymore, and it's when the baby as a fetus attaches, instead of attaching to the placenta, I believe, it attaches to the fallopian tube. And what happens when it does
Yes,
that is
an
it
ectopic
cannot,
pregnancy.
yes, it can't have enough nutrients to fully grow and sustain life, but it will grow large enough to rupture the
Hmm.
like rupture everything around it and kill the mother. But there's no medical procedure that can detach the baby and attach it to the placenta in order to undo it. That is the only situation in which there is no way to save the child or the mother other than killing the
And
baby.
even
And even
And
then,
even
And
when
there
those do happen, it's still a high probability that it becomes unattached later on before it becomes an
yes,
issue.
yes, exactly.
and
That's
there is
like we're
no such
talking.
thing
Go ahead.
there's no such thing as a medically necessary abortion. There is an abortion, which is just murder of a child. And then there is a medically necessary procedure to save the life of the mother. Abortions are not medically necessary. There is there is a distinction that needs to be made. Abortion bans ban people from murdering children that cause no problem. That is a personal choice to have an abortion. A medically necessary procedure is something different to save the life of a mother.
Yes, I agree. And the fact that they had 25 children, the last time I heard the statistic was 25 children were killed at the DNC in abortions.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I was
that
just
being
naming
said,
off the first night. That's
yeah.
crazy that there is even more.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
you're literally offering your children up to an idol. It's the idol of self and convenience, but it's a god nonetheless.
And they do it through one, through worshiping self, but two, through scare tactics, like you had said earlier. Um, they're also doing it through calling it quote unquote freedom, which they at the DNC they had played a clip of Kamala Harris grilling Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearings or before, and asking him if there were any laws that he could think of that tell men what they can and can't do with their bodies, and to, to try to put it up next to abortion bans, which those are not comparable because in abortion, murdering a child, that has nothing to do with your body. That, I mean, it has to do with the woman's body, but that is someone else's body.
I mean, yes, there are laws.
There
It's
is no
called.
law stopping a woman from removing her reproductive parts. There's no law stopping a man from removing his reproductive parts. There are laws stopping people from murdering other people who have their own lives.
I would say that, and to answer that question that she just said, is there something that tells men what they can and cannot do with their own bodies? Yes, it's called rape, in case you didn't know. Men are not allowed to just go around and rape women, despite what the Democrats think. So,
Yeah. Well,
men
one
aren't.
of the
Oh,
biggest things too was they're like, oh, it's just a clump of cells. Okay. Well, at what point does it become a person? Because at the point it becomes a person, at least in the United States, a person is a protected life due to the Constitution and us believing that humans have unalienable rights. Well, if you've noticed, especially like if we go back from when Trump was first elected, look at how the line has continually been drawn, right? The biggest thing they used to argue was, oh, a heartbeat, the third trimester. Well, now if we look at our presidential candidate, Miss Kamala Always Drunk Harris, she voted for something that would, lets you kill the child right after birth or something like that. It
Yep.
goes all the way up to
uh,
that point. If it's a failed abortion and the
mm,
child is born, they let you
Yep.
continue killing the kid.
so no, she
Yep.
voted. Okay. So it's the Born Alive Act, and it protects a child if they're born through a failed abortion and they survive. So she voted
Yeah, she voted
against
against
the
it
bill. Yeah, twice.
twice.
Yes,
Yeah. So she voted for killing kids.
Even though
after birth.
they
Yes.
are what literally once they come out, they are American citizens. I mean, they should be protected before, but by all available laws, they are protected the moment that they come out.
I mean, even if
So
they're not American citizens, right? Human rights. Like,
even
where do
then,
you
yeah,
draw the line? If you can continually move the line, then there eventually will be no line, right? She's talking about killing a child after it is born,
yeah,
stating it doesn't have a human right. Well, okay, after it's born, say somehow it still survives 2 weeks. Is it is it then have its right? You know, a human right? Or
and then
2
do we wait
months
until
or a
consciousness?
year? Well, how long do we wait, right? Does the kid have to be able to say their ABCs? And people say, "Oh, this argument is ridiculous." It's not ridiculous. Y'all were saying, 10 plus years ago that, oh, third trimester, we won't ever go any further than that. And now we have people literally voting to kill a child outside of the womb.
We're not just talking
It's
about
not a
voting.
slippery slope argument, it's reality. And this is what's happening right now.
She's not just talking. This is one thing we need to make a distinction of. She's not just talking about killing children after birth of implementing legislation. Because she has selected Tim Walz as her running mate, she has stamped her approval on all of his policies. Do you know what Tim Walz put into law in Minnesota? He put into law
Tampons.
that you can kill a baby after it's been born. There have been 5 children that have gone through failed abortions that have survived that were killed that died afterwards because they just left them or killed them afterwards. You want to talk about like we're not talking about like she's talking about doing it. She's effectively already done it because her running mate that she selected, knowing all of his policies, did it. He's the most liberal governor in the United States when it comes to abortion. Because the other
Trying
one,
to turn his state into a trans sanctuary.
yes,
Not
I
only
mean,
that, but he's hardcore, like going all in for Palestine, even beyond like American views. Didn't he on that one video interview, like remove the Ohio flag and then, or not my Ohio, Minnesota flag, and then try to replace it with one that looked a lot closer to the
That's the new.
Palestinian flag.
That's the new
Like he's
Minnesota
not an
flag.
American.
He changed the Minnesota flag
Yeah,
to make it look more like a
he's
Palestinian
not
flag.
an American. This is a guy who was born in America who is running for vice president, but he's not an American. Everything this
Yeah.
guy does goes against every, value that we have as a country and every value that stands in our constitution. Anyways, that was a lot of what happened in the first night, and then as you were saying, their great send off to Joe, which by the way, one thing I've noticed is they really tried to distance Kamala from Bidenomics. And after they realized that they weren't going to be able to distance her, now they're trying to brain rot people into thinking that Bidenomics was great.
It's
Not
it's
was
more than that.
is.
They're trying to make it seem that Kamala Harris is not part of the administration. They're trying to make it. I mean, when Obama came on, he was saying, we can't handle another 4 more years of this chaos and blah, 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 blah. Just so everyone remembers, the last 4 years have been under Kamala and Biden, which Biden is pretty much a vegetable. So he's not making the policy decisions. So
Oh
we
yeah,
already know
Obama has
what.
been.
Yeah, we already. It's very strange. Obama had 2 terms, and then he shipped his vice president into the White House, so he basically got a third term because he was controlling Biden through his worm in his head, bug in his ear. But then, so Obama got 3 terms, and now he's going for a fourth with Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is just a continuation of Bidenomics. He's just continuation of Biden's failed policies, which were
Kamala's
Obama's failed policies.
Kamala's even worse in my opinion because
She
at least
is.
like Joe was senile, Kamala's just idiotic. Like she's a
Well, she's
complete idiot.
actively
Her
malevolent.
staffers are stating that she's always drunk. And I read, let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I read like a little news excerpt where one of the security or officers who was at the DNC one of those nights or at one of the meetings she was at stated that if he had seen her get into the driver's seat of a car, he would have pulled her over because she was drunk. Like multiple of her staffers have come out and said that she has a major drinking problem and she's almost always drunk when you see her on stage because she can't get over her nerves, because she can't do public speaking, she can't do policy, she can't do anything. And speaking of that, I know we're going to kind of hop into some of our in-game territory here. They're wanting her to have notes and have everything that she needs for the upcoming debate with Trump because she doesn't know what she's doing. They're literally going to have like a book there to walk her through everything that she's going to go through because she just has no idea for anything. She's so unqualified for any of this. But anyways,
And not just unqualified. I don't know, but anytime that I see Kamala Harris take the stage, she's like, "Hello." She is so insincere. Like I mean, it looks like Hillary Clinton struggles to smile, but Kamala doesn't even know how to speak without sounding like she's talking down to people.
well, she does talk down to people. If you remember that thing with her staffers where multiple of them left because they said that she's an extreme bully.
She has a
She's
95% attrition rate.
completely demoralizing. She what?
She has a 95% attrition rate when it comes to her employees for her staff since she got into office.
Yeah, they leave. She can't keep anybody. It's absolute.
I believe the term is turnover rate, sorry, not attrition rate. She has a 95% turnover rate, which is worse than a McDonald's. Let that be known.
That's actually true. It's so bad working under Kamala that she has a worse turnover rate than McDonald's. She has a worse turnover rate than my company, and I work for a dealership, a used car dealership. Used car dealerships have notoriously high turnover rates. Guys, this is who's running for president. She can't even keep her own staff. What do you think she's going to do for the country? Oh, nothing, because she can't think of anything to do for the country. She's being told what to do, which is why she flip flops every single time she has a new interview. She changes what she was saying because one time she'll go off the record and start talking, and they're like, no, 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 let's correct this. What are our notes? Let's go through this. And then she'll say something else. Also, don't forget, she's still in power. All of these promises that she has, why don't she start acting on them now to build good faith with citizens? Because she doesn't plan on doing any of the good things that she's stating. She won't ever do any of them. And I promise you, if she gets elected, you can mark my words, you will not see a single policy, a single good policy that she has stated will be passed.
Let me
Everything that'll be passed will be highly detrimental to American civilization. She's not going to pass the no tax on tips. I guarantee you that. She just copycatted Trump on that. She's
Well-
not going to pass the extra money for households with children that JD Vance had originally come up with, that the news is praising her, but they trashed Vance on. It's not going to happen.
let it be known. I believe it was yesterday. Guess what policy from Trump she copied?
Oh, another one? What did she get?
The border wall.
No way. She's trying to build the
Yes.
wall?
Yeah.
She's like, we
Guys,
will build a
Kamala's
border
going to
wall.
build a wall.
Chameleon Kamala, she is one, like, this goes back to what I was saying. She's so insincere. She won't take a stand for anything, and she only got to where she is by stabbing people in the back
Or sleeping with them
or sleeping with them
and stabbing
and
them in the
then
back.
denouncing them and stabbing them in the back.
He's gonna build a wall to
Yeah.
tampons.
That's crazy. And Corona
Tim
bottles.
Walls.
Corona bottles.
Oh man. So yeah, that was the first night.
Joe Biden's
Them really
speech.
focusing on bringing or inclusivity and saying goodbye to Sleepy Joe, who
Which,
Sleepy
man, they
Joe.
gave him, they shafted him so hard.
I
Like,
promise you, he didn't even know he had pulled out of the race until after it was national news.
I agree.
I mean, like, they literally, he was not on television until like 11 o'clock at night. I don't know why you would keep the current sitting president until the very end, like that far back when people are already tuning out. But also, the crowd was chanting "Thank you, Joe." Why were they chanting "Thank you, Joe"? If it were based off of his accomplishments, then maybe they probably would have voted for him to have him be their next president. Oh,
Yeah.
well, maybe they're chanting for him because they're saying thank you for finally dying politically so we can wheel your dead body out of here.
Did you
I think
see
that's more
that
what it was.
you had to purchase a ticket to be able to get an entrance? Like it was a paid event, and most of the people had to be invited, and they were paying people $150 to show up. There is a was it an Instagram reel that I was watching of these guys who were like, yeah, bro, we literally had nothing else to do. So this dude came up to us and said, we'll give you $150 if you go to the DNC on this day. And they're like, all right, cool, let's go. They went, they got their 150, they stayed, and then they dipped. Like they're literally paying and bribing people to show up.
Yeah,
Like, it's
the
ridiculous.
entirety of the DNC was just either one, lies about Trump, or two, projection.
Yeah.
I will say the only accurate thing that they said about Trump that they uh, ripped him on, quote unquote, was him saying that he wanted to get rid of the Department of Education. That is the only accurate thing that they reported during the entirety of this DNC. The rest of the time, they were not talking about policy from either Trump or Kamala. They were just talking about how bad Trump is, that Kamala's a career district
Prosecutor.
attorney or prosecutor, and yet Trump is a career criminal, even though has literally only been in court since after he became a Republican president, and they are politically persecuting him. And then they project saying that we Republicans are banana Republicans because we have the Republican president or presidential nominee being the one who's being threatened with jail for being a political opponent of Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah, dude. They are this. What is it called? Dude, they are gaslighting the heck out of people right now. Trump will arrest his political adversaries while they're literally trying to arrest him right now, and they're abusing power and trying to send him to prison. It's such a flop. It's so stupid, and it makes me laugh every time I see it because people, and this is what's scary, people actually sit down and they watch this and they believe it. They
Hmm.
genuinely believe this stuff, and then they don't even sit back and think about what's actually happening right now. They are actively jailing a political opponent for things that are misdemeanors that are
Not
way
even crimes.
past the statute of limitations. They literally raised some of the stuff that they were trying to go after him for from a misdemeanor, and rose it to a crime.
Felony.
So
Felony, yeah, so
about
that they could prosecute him past the statute of limitations. And I'm like, are you stupid? Like, that's direct, like, manipulation of the courts to go after a political opponent.
and they're not even being honest with the quote unquote crimes he's being charged with because he's being charged with fraud for something that damaged no one, like with his business, and then he was convicted uh, civilly for defamation regarding saying that he didn't sexually assault someone, which if he had sexually assaulted someone, you would have think that it would have been an actual criminal charge, not a civil defamation suit. So that doesn't even hold water.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
then,
pretty
moving,
garbage all around.
I would say like moving to day 2 of the DNC. You start to see some of their inconsistencies come forth. You're talking about they have the Me Too movement, right? That
Hmm.
was part of the focus for um day 2 was, oh, we're for the women that have had problems with sexual predators and all this stuff. And you see them talk about that, and then they bring up Bill Clinton, like a speaker or two speakers later is Bill Clinton, the one who famously was having affairs with the interns at the Oval Office. And
I did
then,
not sleep with that woman. I slept with that one, and that one, and that one,
yeah.
but not that one.
And was also on Jeffrey
Points to Hillary
Epstein's
Clinton.
list.
Bro, have you seen those videos of like Hillary Clinton like staring down Bill as he's like staring at Trump's wife?
No.
Bro, Bill is such a creep. And they brought him up to talk after they were talking about all that. Oh man. You can't
And
make this stuff up, guys. Like, it's just a complete heck show. They're so bad, they're so dumb, and they're so stupid.
the projection was so hard because they were talking about Project 2025, which is their dream thing to run off of because Trump has distanced himself from Project 2025. He said, like, Trump had no involvement with the making of Project 2025. He distanced himself from it. He said this is not his agenda, and yet they're trying to nail him, like, to a cross with Project 2025.
They're trying
And
to nail the
they
man
kept
with the paper.
they
They're
kept
trying to nail
making
the
this
man to a paper
comment.
cross.
They
Well,
kept making
it's
this
it's
comment about Trump is trying to line his pockets, which it can you sense the
he
projection?
lost so much money when
Trump
he
gave
was
away his
president.
entire presidential salary.
Yeah,
He
like
did not
that's
take a
such a
salary.
poor argument. Even if you look up like the worth of his companies, they went down while he was president. Like people keep saying, "Oh, well, he used the president, him as president, to be able to boost his business." No, he didn't.
And you've got Obama saying that, you've got Biden saying that,
Well,
who
it's media
only got
manipulation.
money. Well, they're saying that Trump's trying to line his pockets, but those two only got money because they were in office. I mean, the projection of their own insecurities about how they feel about their own wealth is so strong.
Oh yeah, and what you were talking about Trump literally distancing himself from Project 2025. The people who watch CNN, MSNBC, and all these Democratic news networks, they don't know that because they won't show them that. They won't show him saying that. It's media manipulation if you look at all of our news sources, all of it's crazily, like ridiculously manipulated. RFK coming out and giving his speech, and then it just so happens that CNN cuts to a commercial break right when he goes into the Democrat Party and talking about how corrupt they are and the different issues that they have and censorship that they have. It's not an accident that this stuff happens. I mean, they were purposely cutting parts out from his speech because it doesn't fit their agenda.
Which it's a very good thing that it's also a politically savvy thing that RFK decided to drop out of the race and endorse Trump the day after the DNC finished to sort of steal that headwind that Kamala Harris was potentially getting coming out of the DNC.
Oh yeah, which is huge because a lot of people like RFK, and the fact that he's endorsed someone else, his endorsement means something, and that's what's crazy.
But yeah, it's all of the DNC was just projecting. Like, Kamala Harris is now taking on Trump's border wall policies, but the Democrats are not the party that's responsible with the border. That's the Republicans. And they're saying that Trump is going to make America less safe. How is Trump going to make America less safe when he's trying to keep illegal immigrants out so that people who are criminals don't enter the country? He wants to make sure that the people that do enter the country are safe, are benefit to America, instead of having people who will come in, they'll commit murder, they'll commit rape, and yet the Democrats are talking about how awful it is that women can't get abortions because they were raped. Well, illegal immigrants are coming in and raping women. Are they going to make Americans safer?
Well, they're not going to tell you that, right? They're not going to tell you that women are getting raped higher than this. They're going to tell you that that's a wrong stereotype. Um,
Yeah. And then
where
moving
is it?
on to day 3 of the DNC, we had the triumphant return, the descent from on high. Mount Olympus has granted us audience with its king and queen of the Democratic Party, the
Chuck
Obamas.
Schumer? Oh. Was my boy Chucky there? No. The Obamas. Oh yes, the Obamas. People stinking idolize Obama. Look, let me just say this, right? We're not going to I'm not talking his policy, but like person to person, Obama's a guy I'd go golfing with. He seems like a chill dude. Policy wise, he's a corrupt, evil politician. Almost all of his policies, complete garbage. I don't even know why I said almost. I think every single thing that I've seen that he's done, complete garbage, bad for the economy, um, is absolutely terrible. But I'm so glad that they actually brought up, you know, President Barack and Michelle Obama, so that they could attend and everybody could hear from them.
I think that Obama as a person is overhyped considering the fact of how he literally divided the country. He redivided the country into black and white again. And he did that.
Yeah, but that's policy
No, he did that personally. He did that with all of his rhetoric, period. When he was in office and then when he ran for office.
or
And
policy.
I think what you say and what you do are two different things. That's what I
No,
mean.
I think there's a difference between when you're campaigning for something versus when you're like out of the office and you're chilling golfing on the weekend.
I don't know. I don't think that
It yeah,
if
it,
I
it
don't
kind
think
of makes a difference when you are a political figure, getting your voice out to millions. So there is a little bit of a difference, but between uh, talking in a private capacity versus talking in a public forum.
I haven't heard anything good from his personal talks with people. So that's why I say
He
that.
plays golf. You think his golf
So does
game's better
Trump.
than Trump?
No.
Do you think he would 1v1 Trump after Trump beats Biden in that 1v1 that they challenged each other to?
Trump literally had a YouTube video with one of the top golfers in the world trying to hit 50 strokes for a specific course. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, they hit 50. They
Did he
didn't get
do
under.
it?
Yeah, they both
All
hit.
right, I've got 3 Skittles and 2 Reese's Cups on the fact that Trump could beat Obama at golf.
Yeah, I'll raise you an M&M packet.
I'm just saying, from like what we see from American presidents, I think we should just skip the primaries and just immediately have a golf tournament, and that determines our president.
You know, that might actually be a bit more democratic than the actual voting mechanism by which the Democratic nominees get selected.
Well, yeah, it's really hard to kind of what do I do? What are they gonna do? Get it like some super jacked guy with like a mask on with Biden's face to go in there and start golfing for him. Can't really fake ballots when you're on a golf course. But
Yeah,
knowing them, actually, they probably make some kind of ridiculous rule. Be like, "Oh, Trump got it in the hole. That's actually bad for this one. We need to do what Biden did. You see how he hit it backwards? That's what we're going for. Further from the hole means you're going where you want."
No. If it's Kamala, we are moving forward, never backwards.
With joy,
With
because
joy.
the joy of
The
Kamala.
whole the whole DNC was joy, which that's wild. I don't really understand how there's joy in murdering your children. I
It's a
don't
demonic joy.
understand how there's yeah. I want to touch on that real quick because there was a lady that came and she was, I think it was the third night, she was speaking and she was talking about how that women need to have their reproductive freedom, quote unquote, that they should be allowed to murder their babies and have children when they want to. But in the next 10 seconds, she was saying that she wants women to experience the same kind of joy that her grandchild brought to her by being born. That's wild that you're saying children bring you joy, but I want to give women the ability to kill children. That is so wild.
It's so counterintuitive. Like, oh man,
The double
these people
speak.
are special, dude.
And
They're
of
so
course
special.
there's so much joy. Like speaking about doublespeak, when Biden was addressing the DNC on his first night, he was talking about a lie that Trump said there was good people among neo-Nazis and protesters of the neo-Nazis, which Trump didn't say that. He was talking about people wanting to remove statues versus keep statues up of Confederates.
which has
And
been
then
debunked many
30
times, by the
seconds
way.
later, he's saying there's good people on both sides of the Israel conflict, the ones that are wanting to support Israel, and then the protesters outside that are supporting a terrorist regime, Hamas, who
Murder and
murders
rape.
and kills and murders, rapes innocent civilians, that they have a point. He literally just did the same exact thing that he accused Trump of doing.
Hey man, I can draw a perfect line between the Democratic Party and Hamas. Do you know how I could do that? They
They
both
kill kids.
they both kill kids.
Yes, sir. I knew exactly where you were going.
They both love killing babies.
But with joy, because Kamala is your emissary of joy.
Joy. Joy, a demonic joy. She will look you in the eyes and smile as you kill
I'm
your heir.
I'm
You know, one
sorry,
thing
but
I
when
always
Doug
find funny?
Emhoff
I know
when
we keep
when
coming. Oh, go ahead.
when Doug Emhoff was talking and he said that he loves Kamala Harris and he loves that laugh, that crooked Joker laugh, man,
It's a
I was like,
cackle.
he is addicted to the quote unquote joy.
She's brought me
Dude, it's
closer to my
so bad.
Jewish faith. Someone just please remind him that Jewish does not like. I don't even know what to say, man. Does he
I
even know
don't
what
believe
the?
that man's ever been in a synagogue.
I don't believe that man even knows what the Torah is.
Oh, man.
Brother, please, brother, please. All right,
So
I
much.
think
So much. There was a lot
moving.
going on with this week.
Oh
What was
yeah.
the last couple nights about?
The second to last night was Doug Emhoff talking about his. Yeah, it was Doug Emhoff talking about his wife, whatever. Oh, by the way, kind of funny thing. It's Kamala Harris is married to Doug Emhoff. The heck? What is up with all these Democratic and liberals? Every time I hear them named, I'm like, wait, they're married? Then why doesn't she have his last name? That's weird.
Yeah.
It's
Bama,
very
because
much a celebrity thing,
it's
like,
really dumb.
I've noticed with, like, a lot of politicians, which is kinda crazy to me, like, I don't understand
I mean, look at Donald Trump.
why.
His wife is Melania Trump.
Well, that's because Doug Emhoff is like one of the perfect representations of non-toxic masculinity, which means you insult your husband by not taking his last name.
He's
Yeah, that's why,
literally the definition of Democrat men have wives that have boyfriends.
for real. I mean, he was caught. Well, sorry, that might be a little too crass. He
I
was
did
caught.
not sleep with that woman.
Pretty much. Oh,
I slept with that
he's
one.
anyway. Beside the point. Um, and his daughter is an avid activist for pro Hamas groups.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Oh, of course she is.
yeah. And so the next night, the final night, yes, the joy. All of this has culminated. All of this week, hearing from all these joyful people, from Kamala Harris the first night to Doug Emhoff to Hillary and Bill Clinton to Obama's, has culminated to this. The nominee herself. Oh, and Tim Walz spoke, but he spoke a whole bunch of lies again. But but all this culminated
Like
to
his military record.
and his coaching
Ooh.
record. I'm a coach.
Ooh.
I know how to give pep talks. You are a volunteer assistant coach. So, sir, please go get the rags and the water. Fill up the jugs. Thank you very much. And this all culminates to Comrade Harris.
Comrade Harris, bro, almost had a stroke over there just trying to get that out.
Coming down and speaking to the people. In case you didn't notice, thank you is not a phrase to be said in succession 45 times. Just she walks on the stage and people are clapping. And it's like, okay, she doesn't have any authority, and so she doesn't calm them down at all. She doesn't like sit there for a second and then get the crowd to quiet. You can see this in Donald Trump rallies. Trump will sit here and he'll listen to people, and people are excited out the wazoo, and he'll say, "All right," and he'll put his hand up, and he'll stop, and everyone will stop. Everyone will be quiet because they want to hear what he has to say. She just says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you," over and over and over, and no one stops. And then eventually she has to shout over everybody, saying, "All right, we have to talk about stuff." It's like, yes, you have no authority.
Which they don't. They don't talk about anything.
No, she just talked about. So one of the big things was
How nice she was
for the
and how
DNC.
bad Trump is. Quote
In case you
unquote.
didn't notice, they mentioned Trump way more than they mentioned any policy.
By like over 100 mentions too.
150
So
mentions
what
of
it
Donald Trump, and I think it was 7 mentions of the border and 11 mentions of immigration or the economy. Sorry, the economy.
So I think the best way to summarize the DNC was it was a game of Clue, and the American politics and economic situation. That was the butler that was dead, and they had already voted on who the murderer was, and they voted Trump, but Trump got kicked out of the game because they were wrong, and so that left Kamala and Biden. And what Kamala and Biden kept doing is they kept casting Revivify on the specter of Donald Trump, and then dragging him around
Revivify.
and having people vote again, and they would be like, "Oh, there goes Trump. Oh, look, it's the problem." We've already seen both Kamala and Trump.
In
But
office.
Kamala's trying to spin that all of the problems over the past 4 years were somehow caused by the one person that has had no political power. Instead, he's been politically persecuted.
Yeah. I mean, she had no solid thing on policy, and she just blames Trump for everything. It says it's going to be great. We're going to do great. We're going to be filled with joy, and we're going to accomplish everything we want to accomplish. And oh my word, dude, it was just word salad and empty. There was no factual thing you could check because it was all ideals. What are your ideals to be? What are your policies? My
I
policies
want
are
to
to
grow the
bring
middle
world.
class.
I want I want to bring world peace and make everyone have $1 million home and no child be hungry throughout the entire world. Okay, how are you gonna do
It's
that?
your Amazon wish list.
Exactly. It's literally just, oh, here's good things. We're just gonna say good things that we want,
That's a
that
big
everyone
thing. Yeah, a
wants.
lot of her stuff is, "Oh, I'm gonna do this," but she never explains, like, she never says how
How?
or like how she's going to initiate that. It's really, I don't know. I like it's like a child like promising to do things that it has no idea how to do them.
Yeah. The DNC
Let's
basically.
also talk
Sorry.
sorry. Let's also talk immigration real quick with that. So we were talking earlier about right now with the election coming up, a huge thing is having non-citizens vote, and there have been some counties already where they have had like early voting, and the votes that have been received were by non-citizens. And a lot of people might be wondering why some of these people are so keen on having non-citizen voters, and it comes to, or it comes from the idea of, first of all, these guys are tyrants, and if you look at the history of tyrants, tyrants surround themselves with non-citizens, and the reason why they do that is because non-citizens do not have a stake in the country that the tyrants are in charge of. And because of that, they have the freedom to run things the way that they need without having the criticism or having to deal with the ridiculousness of having the citizens there. They know that there's nothing, there's nothing that's really at stake with having the non-citizen there versus if you're surrounded by citizens, you can be surrounded by people who are angry at you for your policies. And so that is a little side thing that I've just noticed, especially when I've done like a lot of like history reading and stuff on tyrants and the way that they handle their governments. You see a lot of them surround themselves and flood their area with people who aren't citizens of that country.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And, let's just be honest. If you want to look at history, you'll solve most of the problems that you have when it comes to who am I going to vote for. Empires. Let's just look at nations in the relatively modern era: China, Russia, aka the Soviet Union, North Korea, Vietnam. I mean, look at how their regimes have killed so many people, have run their governments, have been, it's communist government for the people, blah, blah, blah. And then who's really wealthy? I mean, if you look at North Korea, if you are not Kim Jong un or Kim Jong un's top generals, you live in poverty. And when I say poverty, I mean you are eating crickets to live. If you want to do a fun exercise, go on Google Maps, like Google Earth, the app, go look over North Korea and look at their crop fields. Every single one of their crop fields, in the middle of it, is a giant structure that has jutting out points like stars. These are pillboxes filled with artillery and machine guns in order to kill anyone who is trying to steal even 1 grain of wheat. One stalk. Yeah, that's what these people do. Now, I think moving past the DNC, just some quick news that came out today. So, after almost 40 days, I believe at the time of recording it's 34 days or 33 days, something like that, Kamala Harris has announced that it's 37 days, that she and Matt Walls, or Tim Walls, not Matt Walls,
Tim Walz.
Tim Walls will sit down and have an interview with CNN. The interview shall not be live, the interview will be taped, and it will be both Tim Walls and Kamala Harris, with the interviewer being Dana Bash.
Very friendly towards Democrats.
Yes. Has covered for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's economy time and time again. So it's going to be an interview, a garbage interview, but it's going to be an interview. I'm very interested to see if she gets off script. I really, really hope that they accidentally put in some points where she goes off script, because you will be
I
able to
think the
see.
purpose of having Tim Walz there is to keep her on script.
I agree, but
Honestly,
I think that her ability to screw up supersedes Tim Wall's ability to not screw up. See what I'm saying?
fair.
But that just came out today that she's gonna do that.
And
I'm
then
curious to see what y'all's
what
thoughts
also,
are.
well, about the interview or other
Yes.
news, because Kamala also was trying to get the debate rules changed by Trump, with Trump, even though when Trump agreed to the debates, he was saying, hey, set whatever rules you want. I'm willing to go with whatever rules. I'm willing to keep the mics open. And Kamala was saying, no, we're going to debate under the same exact terms that you accepted with Biden. So President Trump was willing to do either. And now Kamala's coming back at Trump and saying we need to change the rules because it's not fair, trying to pressure Trump into getting pushed back against Kamala for changing the rules so she can say that Trump is afraid of her because she's this big tough woman.
Yeah, no, just today alone, her campaign has contacted Donald Trump's campaign 3 times to change rules. 3 separate times to change 3 separate rules. Last time I heard, she wants to have this debate sitting down with notes. I think that that's going to be very interesting. And Trump's just sitting here like, Trump is basically, at this point, this is a little hyperbole, but Trump is basically sitting there like, okay, I agree to the terms. These terms are these are very hard terms, but I agree. It's like, whatever, as long as it allows me to get to the debate. Democrats come back. We think that sitting down, having notes, I think that'll be we're going to do that. We have to do that. And Trump's like, but we were standing up last time. Oh, are you saying that you don't want to debate now because you don't want to sit down? No, 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 no. I think sitting down's fine. We'll be fine. We'll do the debate. It's like, Democrats come back. Oh well, I think that we're gonna mute the mics this time. We have to mute the mics. Donald Trump's like, well, you just made an entire thing a few minutes ago about having the mics open, but okay. It's like, oh, so that's fine for you. You're not gonna drop out. No, no, no. We can do it with closed mics. That's fine. And then they come back. At this point, they're basically like, okay, so we think we need a dancing leprechaun animatronic in the middle of the table while we're having the debate. We feel that this brings more empathy and it brings more diversity to this very specific point in time. It really shows the caricature of the American president to be. And Donald Trump goes, oh, okay, I really don't think that helps anything, but you know what? That's fine. Just get to the debate. I am happy to debate you however you want. This is how I feel like the
And
Democrats have gone about
Kamala
this.
only wants one debate.
Meanwhile,
She
Kamala
won't
Harris is putting
agree
down
to
that Irish
multiple
liquor.
debates. Kamala won't agree to multiple debates, and I don't want to say this, but I almost want where debates are mandatory for presidential elections. So, because the American public deserves to know what positions they're voting for. I mean, the American public deserves to vote for their presidential nominee and have their presidential nominee be the person that they voted for. And then, if the Democratic Party decides to switch them out, the American public deserves to know what policies the Democrats just
This is one
put
of the
onto their
reasons.
plate.
This is one of the reasons I can't stand the Democratic Party is they treat us all like idiots. They planned one debate for her because they know if she talks any further, she's going to ruin everything that they've got planned. But then they make things look like, oh, it's the scary red man's fault, when in reality, that she just doesn't have anything put together. I don't know. The
Or
whole
what
thing
what
makes
is
me
put together is
extremely
awful.
upset. Yeah, they're just treating us like complete idiots and morons. Like that's understand as the people aren't more upset about is the fact that you're literally being treated like you're a toddler who doesn't understand basic politics, and they're just telling you orange man bad, vote me, but I'm not going to go into detail with any of my policies, and you're only ever going to see one debate with me, which is unacceptable.
But that's the candidate of joy.
The canon of joy and other things that will not be mentioned because this is a family-friendly show. But, other than that, this week's getting crazier. The weeks to come are going to be crazier. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this interview. I'm interested to hear, y'all's final thoughts on the next things that are coming up this next week. Which, one of the things that I'll wrap up. My last point would be this. Another thing that Donald Trump has done this past week, along with RFK, he has also secured the endorsement of Tulsi Gabbard, who many will remember her from her famous moment of putting Kamala Harris's 2019 presidential campaign in the dirt and
Oh
effectively ending it.
yes.
Yeah, she came out in person at the Arlington National Cemetery where Trump was visiting today. We can talk about that next week as well. And she personally endorsed him. So I
Yeah.
thought that
Well,
Trump consolidating that was
let's
cool.
talk about this a little bit more, especially him visiting uh the the ceremony. You will not see Trump. You will see Trump. You will not see Kamala. You will not see Biden. You will not see any of the Democrats there. Why? Because they are not Americans. They do not have the American spirit. They are Marxists. They are communists. They want control. They are the elites. They seek to rule you. They do not care about you. Trump is the only candidate here that is going to these events. He is mourning with the families. He is showing respect to the fallen soldiers. You will not find that from the other candidates.
Trump needs to make Kamala Harris take responsibility for every decision that she and the president have made over the past 4 years. That is what needs to happen from every day from now until the election. And that is the only way that people are going to open their eyes to see the comparison of the time that Trump was in office, how he governed, and how his policies affected America, versus Harris, how she governed and how her policies have destroyed America.
Exactly. But again, we'll see what the week brings, and then we'll go ahead and we'll hit it back next week. And you know what, guys? Politics are messy. Politics are gross. And either candidate that you look at, you can put your hope in them. But at the end of the day, what matters the most is not necessarily the political party you put your hope in and the people you put your vote in. But what matters the most, and the most important decision that you can make is whether or not you were saved. This isn't a political battle. This just comes to the difference between, are you going to spend eternity in heaven or are you going to spend eternity in hell? And you know what, listener? God loves you. He says in John 3:16 that he so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. The following verse he says that he sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him may be saved. God loves you no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've done. He still sent his son to die for your sins, and all you have to do is accept his free gift of salvation, and you can save yourself from an eternity in hell. That's the most important decision that you can make here today. We can sit here and we can talk Democrat bad, Republican bad, Democrat good, Republican good. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you shouldn't be putting your hope in man. You shouldn't be putting your hope in politics. You should be putting your hope in Christ, because at the end of the day, when the earth is burned away and there's nothing left, the only thing that's going to matter is where you're spending your eternity. I hope you'll make the right choice, and if you have any questions, please feel free to comment to us or seek somebody who can explain it to you. But with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. My name is Aaron. Thanks for joining us.
My name is Dale. Thanks for being here.
And this is Jared. You guys have a good night.